Florida Derby. After 3/4 in 1:12 and 1, Known Agenda is now on to take over the lead. It's Known Agenda for St. Elias Stable. Florida Derby winner, Known Agenda.
Hello everybody, Mike Welch coming to you from Oklahoma Training Track once again with the Daily Racing Form Belmont Stakes Clocker Report, brought to you by Spendthrift Farm, the home of 2022 Belmont winner Mo Donegal, whose popular first crop of foals arrived this spring. And this is a very special edition of the Clocker Report. As promised a couple of days ago, my colleague Dave Grening going to join me here. Nobody covers New York and nobody covers the 3-year-old situation better than Dave Grening. Dave, we're going to run down the field. I want to get your impressions for the most part of the 10 starters. Right now, hopefully all 10 will make it there by Saturday. And we're going to go in alphabetical order, so we're not showing any favoritism or anything like that. And we'll start off with Antiquarian, one of the 3 Todd Pletcher combatants in the race. You've seen him. He's been in New York. You saw him win the Peter Pan. Just your thoughts of his performance there and how he's come out of the race.
It was a solid enough effort in the Peter Pan, Mike. He ran down or outfinished the Wine Steward, who was also in this race and kind of flying under the radar a bit. I thought his workout here the last weekend was solid. He seems to be a horse on the improve. Is he ready for this? We'll see. I mean, he did have an issue at the Louisiana Derby when he broke through the starting gate. It definitely cost him the race, or any chance to be competitive in the race. And you wonder how much it might have cost him in his development to be ready for a spot like this. But this whole Belmont thing with at 1.25 miles versus the 1.5 miles, it really switches things up a little bit. So you don't have to be as sharp, I guess, for the 1.25 miles as you would if you're trying to get that 1.5 miles.
A little less uncertainty too. At least many of these have been 1.25 miles. None of them would have been 1.5 miles. So that helps the handicapping picture, I guess, a little bit. Although this race, pretty tough one. Not a lot separating the best horses here from the ones that are going to be the longer prices on the board. And Antiquarian did train over here with all of the Todd horses this morning. I watched him train. He looked good again today for the second straight day coming out of his work over the weekend. We next go to Dornoch. Now Dornoch, we know, had a pretty bad trip from a terrible post in the Derby. Do you give him a chance?
Not to win. He'll definitely be a factor in the race because I think he'll be on or close to the pace. He just does not look like the horse that has moved on from 2 to 3. He beat Sierra Leone in the Remsen last year. Had a very solid 2-year-old campaign. His Fountain of Youth victory was kind of watered down when all the scratches occurred, either pre-race and then even on the track. I believe it was Speakeasy who scratched. So it really wasn't. It was on paper it looks better than it did on the track. They tried to rate him in the bluegrass. That didn't work. And the rail, I don't care if there's 1 starting gate, 5 starting gates. The rail is not a good spot to be in the Kentucky Derby. And when you drew the rail, you might as well just scratch.
We'll move next to Anna Marie. I know this is a horse you're leaning toward a bit. Just talk about why you're in the Anna Marie camp.
There were 20 horses in the Kentucky Derby, and he had the worst trip of the 20. He was not supposed to be last. He got bounced around from the start. He got checked going into the first turn. He just, if he had a radio to the jockey, he might as well just said, why don't we just pull the horse up and we'll try again in 2 weeks in the Preakness. But you had to finish the race, and he kind of made a little bit of a run and still got, had a horse cut in front of him in the stretch there too. He wasn't going to be probably any better than he finished because after all the stuff that happened to him early in the race, it had to take the starch out of him. Those types of horses, we've seen a lot of horses 12 times in the last 24 years. Horses have run in the Kentucky Derby, skipped the Preakness, and won the Belmont Stakes. And some of them were really good, had really good races in the Derby. Others, like Palace Malice in 2013, did not. And Creator also did not have a great trip, and he came back and won. So this is a horse I think just fits the mold of a horse that was really talented. It was kind of the buzz horse going in the Derby. That never works either. And then, watching him, he just jogged this morning on the main track. But just talking to Whit Beckman, the trainer, he's very high on how this horse has come out of the Derby and how he's changed and the way he moves. He's a lot smoother, more fluid mover than he was before the Kentucky Derby.
And I like that pick because he's going to be a price, and that's what you like to see. Mind Frame drew the outside, post 10. he's definitely the biggest question mark in the race, and for good reason, but very talented.
Look, his 2 races have been spectacular. The race at Churchill Downs, he kind of got away with easy fractions on the lead, but he still did it and did it the right way. Todd Pletcher had 2 horses win by 13 plus lengths in the Florida Derby Day card. This one might have been even more impressive than Fairness when he won the Florida Derby in a record-setting performance, but I just think it might be too much too soon for this horse. I'm not saying he's not a good horse. He could finish 6th in this race and still be, when it's all said and done, a top quality horse. I just wonder if it's a little too much too soon.
Do you think the plan will be to put him on the lead, and if it is, you think he can get it?
I don't think he can get it. Put it this way, I don't think he can get it and win the race unless he's just an absolute freak, because he's going to have to work hard to get from 10, and there's going to be others who are going to go to the lead. If he gets away with 49, certainly he can win it, but I don't see that happening.
Mystic Dan is next, the Derby winner, Preakness runner-up. Glad to see him back again in the Belmont. And the main reason I think he's here is because his trainer, Kenny McPeak, thinks he's doing that good. He was going to pass the race. The fact that he's going to run him is a good sign.
I think it says a lot because he did have a second horse to put in the race if he wanted to. He's very high on that filly, Torpedo Anna, who won the Kentucky Oaks, who's going to be running Friday in the Acorn. He said, I would have no qualms putting her in the race. And if Mystic Dan had shown even the slightest setback to Kenny, I think he would have said, let's hold off. And we'll put the filly in there and show her wares. He's been training great. He's been training fine. The time wasn't great. I thought the track was a little slower than maybe it has been since then. But how much does he really have? How much did he really have to do? He's running the Derby, running the Preakness. He didn't have to light it up in the morning.
Like I've said, I would like to see him gallop out a little better in the workout, but he really doesn't need to. And he looked good going in, get his gallops going in, and his gallops coming out have been good as well. Protective, the best maiden in the country, according to trainer Todd Pletcher. Multiple greatest stakes place, but still could be running Thursday in a maiden special weight race too. What's your thoughts on Protective?
He'll be running in 5 weeks in maiden special weight on Thursday.
Let's go to Resilience now. Belmont originally thinking maybe this horse didn't want 1.25 miles after he kind of flattened out in the stretch run of the Derby. The fact that he's now decided to put him in, confidence from watching him train, or just thinks it's worthwhile to give him another shot?
I think he's thinking it's worthwhile to give him another shot because it sort of dictates what he can do with him moving forward the rest of the summer. Do you point for, if he runs well in here, you can maybe think the Travers is still in the mix. If he doesn't run well in here, then you've now can rule out 1.25 mile races and point for all the other derbies that end with 1 1/8. His work here, and I follow your lead on this one as well. It was probably the best of what we saw here over the weekend. It was a good gallop out, solid time. Again, I thought the track was a little faster than it was on Sunday than it was on Saturday, but still a good move. I think the idea of running is to see how he handles the 1.25 mile, a confidence booster given the way he's trained.
Sees the Gray, a horse that's gone a long way in a short time. Went wire to wire to win the Preakness. Can he do it again, and do you see him making the lead as easily here?
I don't think he'll do it as easily. I think having drawn the rail, he's going to get sent away from there, and if it puts him on the lead, fine, but I also think Dornock is going to be pretty close, and there'll be somebody else in the mix too. Mystic Dan's not going to be too far away either. This is one I think has the potential to blow up a little bit. If I took all the contenders in the field and I said which one do I think is going to regress, I think maybe this one. Although he looks fabulous on it. I did see him yesterday. He looks really, really good. But just from handicapping all the races he's had, and you just wonder if maybe this is time for a regression.
Sierra Leone, the morning line favorite, arguably the best horse in the field, but nobody is running away from him, that's for sure, because of his running style and what we saw from him. A new bit, a new rider. And you think it'll be a different result?
It very well could. I hate to take a favorite in a race like this because I don't necessarily think he towers over this group, but there are changes being made that you should think should help him. He's always been a top horse. He's 3 wins, 2 seconds. He's lost 2 races by a grand total of 2 noses. He is the best horse in the field. He's got to get a setup. With a bit help, jockey Flavia Pratt keep him straight. It should. And if he does that, he's got an excellent chance to win.
And last but not least, the Wine Steward. I guess if you like Antiquarian, you got to like the Wine Steward. They were close in the Peter Pan, but it was going to be the Woody Stevens. Now they went to the Belmont. Do you think he has any chance?
Yeah, I don't think it was really. I think there was a misnomer about it was between the Woody Stevens and this race. I think it was between the Ohio Derby and this race. And I think he's a good 1 1/8 horse. I question him at 1.25 miles. Mike Maker does not. But I know Mike was kind of leaning toward going in the Ohio Derby. But when you look at his record, I mean, he deserves a chance here. He's got a couple, he's been 4 seconds. When he hasn't won, he's been 4 seconds, and I don't think he got beat by more than a length in any of those races. So I don't really like him in this spot, but I can't begrudge them from taking a shot.
And that's it. That's the 10 horses entered for the this year's Belmont Stakes. It's going to be a tremendous weekend. Besides the Belmont, just some super races on that card. Just we mentioned in the Woody Stevens. The Woody Stevens may be the best betting race on Saturday's card. 14 races Saturday. Dave, it's going to be a long weekend.
It is that. It is that.
And again, we're still not through here with our coverage. Of course, our coverage is going to continue right through the end of all the races this weekend. But still, look, next couple of days, we're going to watch these horses train in the morning. And we will have one more clock report here, maybe on Thursday, to sum up one more time this year's 2024 Belmont Stakes.